Okay, not to sound too morbid or anything, but basically this has been going through my brain. We're born, we live, and then we die. And while a lot of life happens in between those two checkpoints, I think for most people, not a lot of living happens. This current generation is the most anxious and depressed generation that's ever walked this earth. And you can read studies about how, technology is impacting that or whatever, and whatever the cause may be. But by most standards, you could say we're not setting ourselves up to live great lives. If you clicked on this video, chances are you're scared of living a terrible life. And you probably should be, because everything that this generation is being fed about how to live is pretty much setting them up to live terrible lives. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about 5 ways to have a terrible life. Okay, before I tell you the first way to have a terrible life, please watch this video until the end, because I have a challenge at the end of the video that I think would be really cool if everyone watching this participated in. Okay, tip number 1 for having a terrible life is to do everything that you feel like doing. It sounds ironic, right? How can the things that I feel like doing create a terrible life? Well, it's kind of complicated. So regardless of your beliefs or if you're a Christian or not, I think this Bible verse can shed some light. Romans 7:15 says, "For I do not understand what I am doing, because I do not practice what I want to do, but I do what I hate." So basically, I think the best way to explain it is that there are 2 separate people living inside of you, and they both have totally conflicting agendas. Let's call these individuals Bob and Blob. Similar names, just one has an L, because he's a loser. So Bob is creative. He has ideas to change the world. He's a hard worker who is motivated. He's happy and he makes other people happy. If he isn't home, you'll find him at the gym or volunteering somewhere. Now Blob, his opposite, doesn't do anything that's not fun immediately. He only does what he feels like doing in the moment. He is miserable and people don't like being around him. If he isn't at home, you can find him in a drive-thru somewhere. So I think it's important to see yourself as 2 separate people, so then when certain thoughts pop into your head, you can distinguish where it's coming from. Because in reality, if you met an unsuccessful couch potato who did nothing with their life and they were trying to give you life advice, you probably would not take it because you can see where it's coming from. It's the same way with your thoughts. If you're aware of what part of you this thought is coming from, you can decide if that's worth listening to or not. Bob says, let's read a book. Blob says, let's spend another 15 minutes scrolling through Instagram. Bob says, let's go to the gym. Blob says, I have my whole life to get in shape. I don't really know why I would start now. Okay, are you seeing the pattern here? There is a part of you that will always vote for whatever is easiest and whatever gives immediate pleasure. Now, the sad reality is that the more that you listen to Blob, the more that you listen to the part of you that just wants what's easy and what's comfortable, the harder it is to listen to the side of you that wants what's good for you. But luckily, the inverse is also true. If you spend more time trying to do the things that are healthy for you, the things that are good for you, the unhealthy side of you's voice gets quieter and quieter until it's really just a whisper. So tip number 1 for having a terrible life is to do whatever you feel like doing. Basically, listen to Blob. Okay, the second way to guarantee having a terrible life is to blame others for your situations. I was speaking with a good friend of mine the other day, and I asked them, hey, what makes you happy? What makes a day good for you? And they said to me, when work is good, when my friends are nice to me, and when people don't interrupt me. And I looked at them and I said, I think there's an issue with your list of things that make you happy, because none of them are in your control. And because none of these things that made this person's day good were in their control, this person was at the mercy of whatever life had for them that day. So if work wasn't good that day, they were gonna have a bad day. And if their friends weren't nice to them that day, they were gonna have a bad day. Essentially, this person gave all control of their life and their happiness to other people. And I think that's a great way to have a terrible life. Because if you give everybody else the power over your day, the power of if you fail or the power if you succeed, then at the end of the day, you have no control over what you become in life. You're simply a product then of what everybody else threw at you, basically. And I think the issue with this mindset is that it sort of creates like this lack of accountability, sort of. Oh, it's their fault that, that I don't make money. It's their fault that I never have time. When in reality, it's your fault. Sorry. You're really the only one who can have a say in these things. Sure, you can get roped into things and have things tossed on you, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is your life. You're the one who can say, no, I'm not doing that, or yes, I'm doing that. And I think just a lot of people with this mindset live day to day as if they are victims of everything that's happening in life, instead of choosing to take control and really own where their life is heading. But I think the worst part about the mindset of blaming others for your situation is that you rob yourself. So to blame others for your situation really doesn't get you anywhere. Instead, it just takes away all the power that you should be having. And this is why people who make excuses or blame other people for their situations don't usually get very far in life, because they don't realize that they're the only ones who can get them where they need to go. For instance, Bill Gates, his first company failed miserably, and he had a co-founder. He could have said, well, it was my co-founder, and if I did it by myself, I would have been totally successful. And if he did that and just blamed it all on him, we probably wouldn't know what Microsoft was today. But instead, he kept trying and didn't blame other people for his ideas not catching on. Stephen King's first novel was rejected 30 times. And he could have just blamed the publishing companies and been like, oh man, it's a shame they don't like weird books. But no, he kept trying. He didn't blame them for not taking his stuff. He kept trying, and now he's one of the most successful authors ever. So I could go on and on forever. There's a billion examples. But I think you get the point. Blaming other people for your situation is a great way to have a terrible life. Okay, tip number 3 is to destroy that subscribe button and that like button if you want to have a terrible life. Just kidding. Doing those things will give you a great life, because on this channel we talk about how to have a great life. But yeah, if you subscribed or left a like, I really appreciate it. I want this channel to be a group of people who are just growing together and trying to become the best versions of themselves. So if that's something you're into, hit subscribe. Join the family, baby. Okay, but tip number 3 for having a terrible life is to surround yourself with people who don't challenge you. Okay, kind of controversial thing to say, but this generation has become so soft because we've been told that we deserve to not be offended or ever hear anything that we don't want to hear. So we surround ourselves with and seek out company that will never make us feel uncomfortable or challenge us. I feel like I need to go to the gym. Nah, dude. You look great. Maybe I just need to read more. No, dude, you can read when you're old. I think I need to take a week off from work. I mean, working 10 hours a week part-time is just exhausting. Dude, you have earned it. Absolutely. And while it seems nice and easy to have people around us who just keep us comfy and never challenge us, the lifestyle that creates is actually harder. So picture with me if you only hung around people who said, hey dude, no, you don't need to work out. No, just enjoy life right now. Well then, 10 years down the road, when you have health complications because you weren't working out, life is harder than it would have been if you worked out. If you only surround yourself with people who just encourage you to do the bare minimum and nothing beyond that, and just do what you have to do to get by, well, 10 years down the road, when you're stuck in a job that you hate and you're not making the money you want to make, that's a lot harder than if you just put the effort in up front. The point I'm trying to make is that what seems easy on the front end is a lot harder on the back end. And then also, at the end of the day, if someone holds back from saying something that could help you become a better person, I would argue that person doesn't actually care for you. Because how could you hold back something that could literally change somebody's life or help them significantly if you cared about them? So if you want a terrible life, surround yourself with people who will not challenge how you think or what you do. The 4th way to guarantee having an awesome, terrible life is to avoid discomfort. So let's name off some uncomfortable things. Working out, dieting, journaling, learning a language, meditation. These are all life-changing things. They're all great things to do, but they're all really uncomfortable. And they're all really hard to do. So this essentially ties us back to point number 1, where we talked about only doing things that you want to do. Our friend Blob only wants what's comfortable and easy. So let's name off some things that are comfortable and easy. Always eating out, binging Netflix 24/7, living on Instagram, self-gratification. Now compare those 2 lists that I just named off. Which of those lists represents a person that you want to be? I can say with, relative certainty that it's not the second list, but the first list is all uncomfortable things. And that's why avoiding discomfort is a great way to have a terrible life, because all of the best things for you are uncomfortable. But also, what kind of life would just comfort be? Like, imagine if you watched a movie and the whole thing was just the person just not having any issues and just always getting what they wanted. That would be a terrible movie, because we love the fight. When you watch a movie and they start out and it's going well, but then some rough stuff happens and they have all these challenges and they have all this discomfort, then they rise above it. That's what makes a great story. If life was just comfortable all the time, that's a terrible life. So if you want to have a terrible life, never do anything that's uncomfortable. Okay, tip number 5, the final way to have a terrible life is to procrastinate. I think Abraham Lincoln said it best when he said, "You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today." So I wanted to end this video with this point because this is genuinely the toxic trait that I struggle with most. And I'm fully aware that it is one of the singular things that is holding me back from so many awesome things in my life. For instance, the girl I'm dating right now, she's been the biggest blessing, but I procrastinated on asking her out for 2 months. And sometimes I just think, man, if I just asked her out when I initially wanted to ask her out, how many awesome things could have happened in those 2 months of me sitting around procrastinating? But instead, nothing happened because I procrastinated. Okay, so at the beginning of the video, when I said there was a challenge at the end of the video, that's what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so here's how I want to end this video. I feel like everybody has things in their life that they're procrastinating on, whether it's breaking up and getting out of a toxic relationship, or maybe asking somebody out, starting a new relationship, leaving a job, starting a new job. There are big things in our life that I think everybody is procrastinating on. So here's the challenge for you. Whatever that big item is, I challenge you to go to the comments section and write it out. Write out what it is and hit post. I will also be doing this, so while you're in the comment section, feel free to look around and you'll see mine in there too. Now, why would we do this? Putting out whatever you're procrastinating on out in the public creates accountability. So you're gonna be a lot more likely to go ahead and tackle something if you just told a bunch of strangers about it on the internet. And that's exactly what I want this channel to be. Just strangers from the internet growing together and pushing each other to become the best versions of themselves. So take a second, scroll down to the comment section and comment what it is that you've been procrastinating on that you know you need to do. Now, don't procrastinate on sharing what you're procrastinating with. That would be all too ironic and it would make me sad. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you got any value out of this video, you know what to do. Leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment for the algorithm, and I will see you guys next time.